In this video, El Salvador citizenship by descent. If you have at least one parent who was born in El Salvador, you can claim El Salvadoran citizenship. I think this is an absolute no-brainer for anyone in the Salvadorian diaspora in the US. People should be getting their El Salvador citizenship and second passport. It's an absolute no-brainer. So in this video, we're going to talk about the legal pathways to citizenship. We're going to delve into how you can obtain Salvadoran citizenship through ancestry, the eligibility requirements, and some practical advice to get you started on this journey. Cool. So El Salvador, obviously a country that's receiving a lot of press and attention right now. It's a country that's very safe, and the passport is gaining in value dramatically. It's becoming a more valuable passport. Even if we were talking a couple of years ago, I would still say get the passport. It's a good plan B. There's no downside. But now in 2025, with Bukele and all the reforms that have taken place, it's just that much better of a travel document and that much better of a second passport and citizenship to have. Now, if you're watching this video, maybe you were born or grew up in the US and Canada, Europe, maybe other parts of Latin America, and one of your parents was born in El Salvador, okay? And El Salvador, like pretty much every other country in Latin America, offers a route to citizenship through descent under the principle of jus sanguinis, which is a Latin word for right by blood. This means that if you have Salvadoran ancestry, you might be eligible for citizenship regardless of your place of birth. To become eligible for Salvadoran citizenship by descent, the primary requirement is having at least one parent who is a citizen of El Salvador by birth. This is crucial because citizenship acquired through naturalization does not pass down in the same way. It often can, but it's a more complicated case. So the most clear-cut case is if one of your parents was born in El Salvador, pretty much cut and dry, you have the right to get El Salvadoran citizenship as well. Okay? So here's how you can start the process. First, you need to gather proof of your identity and your relationship to your Salvadoran parent or grandparent. This typically involves obtaining your birth certificate and getting the type of birth certificate that should list your Salvadoran parent's name. You're also going to want to get your parent's birth certificate from El Salvador and documentation proving that they are a Salvadoran citizen by birth. There's accompanying documentation you can get as well that's helpful, like a valid Salvadoran passport or identification card. But really the holy grail of the document that we need is your parents' birth certificate from El Salvador. If you don't have that, not a problem. I would say the majority of our clients don't have that ready to go, and it's something that we help them to obtain. So if you would like to work together to get Salvadoran citizenship by descent, we can help you find the documents in El Salvador, find the documents you need in the US, prepare your application in the way that El Salvador wants to see it, and basically handle the whole process A to Z, hold your hand to get that El Salvador passport in your hand as quickly as possible. To do so, you can book a call. There's going to be a link in the description to book a call with MyLatinLife. So back to the process, let's look at the broader context for how this works. You can look at Article 90 of the 1983 El Salvador Constitution, which outlines who can claim birthright nationality. And there's a couple different groups of people here. So one is anyone born in El Salvador. You are eligible for citizenship if you were born there, except if your parents were in the country illegally or were temporary residents, okay? An interesting note here is that supposedly children of diplomats have the option to choose Salvadoran nationality. So this video might also apply if you were born in El Salvador, but maybe you were raised in the US or somewhere else, but you haven't gone back and gotten your El Salvadoran citizenship, we can help make that happen. And then the other case, the second case is if you were born abroad, if you were born anywhere outside of El Salvador, but to a father or mother who holds a valid and current Salvadoran identification card or birth certificate, you're eligible for citizenship. And there's another cool third category with some historical context. So there's a provision for nationals of any Central American state that was once part of the Federal Republic of Central America, reflecting a historical unity among Central American nations. Now, this probably needs a whole video in and of itself. It's kind of like a loophole hack thing that's not talked about much and requires more research. But people from other parts of Central America have additional privileges in El Salvador, and vice versa, actually, through the CA4 agreement. Okay, so moving on, let's navigating this process. Let's mention some challenges and some tips that'll help. So one is documentation. You're going to want to be really meticulous with your documents. Any discrepancies between names or birth dates or missing information can lead to delays or rejection. If the documents are old or hard to find, consider reaching out to family members or local archives in El Salvador to help. We have a lot of clients that we've had to help amend documents, which means legally getting names and birthdays changed. Another process we help clients with is what's called a one in the same document, often an affidavit, so that if people have different birth certificates or things, instead of doing the amendment process or in addition to the amendment process, you can get a one in the same amendment to sort of certify that this is the same person, even though there's inconsistencies. And we can help with these inconsistencies that are an absolute nightmare to try to go through by yourself. And if you have inconsistencies, absolutely you should be booking a call with us, and we can help you with this process. Okay. Another tip is I think legal assistance is absolutely necessary for this process. Many lineages are complex. The documentation can be complex. Obtaining documents in El Salvador can be complex. And when you work with a lawyer who specializes in Salvadoran nationality law, they can really make things happen so that you can sort of stay focused on your business, stay focused on everything else you're doing, and we can work on this for you. And it's really not that expensive overall, the service, so that you don't have to get in the weeds and learn everything about El Salvador nationality law and run around to different church offices trying to find baptismal records and stuff like that, and booking appointments with consulates and so forth and so on. Legal assistance here, I think, is an absolute no-brainer. And of course, MyLatinLife, we're happy to handle your case. But one way or another, do not do this process by yourself. Another tip we have is patience. The bureaucratic process can take time. Prepare for this by applying well in advance if you have a specific timeline in mind. Sometimes we get clients and they say, oh, I'm not interested in right now, but I'll keep it in mind. Give me a couple months. And that's really not the right approach. Like, these things take time. El Salvador should be faster than other countries, say in Central America, where doing a similar process in Guatemala or Honduras would take a long time, like 6 to 12 months or more. El Salvador will be a little bit faster, but it's not overnight. It doesn't take 2 weeks. These are multi-month processes, especially if you have a complex case with inconsistencies or you don't have the documents yet and so forth. So these things take time. So, while you're thinking about this, while you're watching the video, highly recommend get the process started now. You never know if things are going to change in the future. So if you qualify now, get the process started now, and do not delay. These things take time. But, as long as you get the process started and keep making progress, you will eventually get that El Salvador passport in your hands. It's a very real thing. Cool. And then another thing I thought I'd mention is the cultural connection component, which is really cool. So, while not a legal requirement, engaging with Salvadoran culture, learning Spanish if you don't already speak it, or visiting El Salvador can enrich your experience and show commitment to your heritage. Getting that El Salvador passport, I promise you, you will learn more about your family history going through this process. You will learn about yourself. You will learn about El Salvador as a country. It's just a good thing to do, and you'll feel much more in touch, and you're going to learn a lot about your family and your background. Claiming El Salvador citizenship by descent is not just about legal procedures. It's about reconnecting with a part of your identity. There's a lot of benefits too. It offers you the right to live, work, and vote in El Salvador, to celebrate and participate in its cultural life, and to strengthen familial ties that might span generations. There's also benefits beyond El Salvador. As I mentioned briefly, you will have benefits in the entire CA4 region, the Central America 4. It's basically like a trade bloc, almost like a mini European Union in a way, where it's an integrated bloc. And having an El Salvador passport will actually give you residency rights and the right to work and live and invest in the other Central American countries. So the CA4 is Guatemala, El Salvador, Honduras, and Nicaragua. And you'll be able to live in any of these 4 countries. There's also benefits to any second passport. So there's the benefits to the El Salvador passport specifically. There's the benefits to having a CA4 passport. And then there's the benefits of having any second passport at all. And we have a dedicated video about that idea of the benefits generally of having a second passport, but you can kind of imagine that for one thing, it's going to increase your visa-free travel around the world. It's going to create a situation where, like, if you lose your primary passport, let's say you lose your US passport, you're not stuck, or it's less of an emergency situation, and you can still sort of travel as you're replacing your other passport. It can make it easier to open bank accounts around the world. You'll be able to open bank accounts in El Salvador. You'll maybe get greater access to the crypto market in general, especially in El Salvador, because Americans have a very hard time opening bank accounts. They have a very hard time opening crypto accounts and opening with crypto exchanges. But if you have an El Salvador passport, it's going to make it a lot easier for you to open with exchanges as a U.S. El Salvador dual citizen. So that's a huge benefit. And the benefits go on and on. I mean, we could be here for hours talking about the benefits of an El Salvador passport. But the bottom line is, if you are eligible for this thing, if you have a parent that was born in El Salvador, or if you were born in El Salvador and haven't claimed your El Salvador passport, it's an absolute no-brainer. There's zero downside to doing so. There's only upside. And it'll unlock so many benefits and opportunities that we highly recommend doing this. So we can make it happen for you. We've helped get tons of people citizenship by descent. We've helped people lower taxes, get second passports around the world, internationalize, all that good stuff. If this process resonates with you, book a call with us. Again, there's a link in the description. And if you've already done this, if you're already on the path, if you've already got your citizenship, leave a comment below. We'd love to hear your experiences and any stories that you might have. And don't forget to like this video and subscribe to our channel for more insights into global citizenship, Latin America, internationalization, all that good stuff. Thank you for watching. We'll see you in the next video.